Hello everyone, this is Crypto Maximalist. Welcome back to another video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and get involved if you like the content. Thank you very much. So we're just taking a look at the market here today, and as we can see, really for the past week or so, we have just been trading sideways. on coin market cap here, I should say, Jesus Christ. That essentially we have just been going sideways for a long while here. Over the past 7 days, we haven't really done anything, just been chopping sideways, a little bit of movement up and down. You know, the volume has been pretty low overall. In general, for the past week or so, we have just been consolidating and going sideways. We've not really seen many movements in the crypto space that we can note of. Obviously, there has been a few developments in the XRP case, the Ripple case with the SEC, which obviously denotes to XRP, which is why we can see there has been a little bit of movement for XRP up and down. It's been a bit more volatile than a lot of these other top cryptocurrencies. We saw Solana go down again, and basically get the blockchain paused again over the past few weeks as well, which has obviously led to the price dropping over the past week or so around 10%. But for the most part, as we can see, just looking down the whole cryptocurrency space here, everything pretty highly correlated to Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin dominance is probably very high at this point in time as well. And we can see very clearly overall that the market really hasn't been doing that much, to be honest. We can obviously, congratulations if you're still here, by the way, because we've had a bit of a prolonged break, but we're going to come back now and start doing content again after sorting out some, real life stuff issues. But essentially what we're seeing is, over the past year or so, we have been in a bit of a bear market, haven't we? We have just seen Bitcoin going down and down and down, rolling over, losing key levels of support, and just, heading down. It's been about a year now, and a lot of people coming into the space have been flushed out, and there's only really the OGs in the space that are remaining. So congratulations if you're still here. Obviously, you're well applauded by us. We've been here in the background the whole time, still, looking at crypto projects, etc., etc. But really not that much going on, obviously, with the bear market. A lot of newer projects have, they've just not been launching, or there has been, not that much going on in the crypto space. Obviously, all the top projects still building, still improving their fundamentals all the time, which is great to see. But for the most part, a lot of the smaller DeFi projects that had a lot of potential for us, we haven't really seen that much from what we can see, just because, in a bear market, it's much more difficult to build, to keep teams going, to get investors. So in general, we would say that, congratulations if you're still here. If you're buying at these prices in the long term, most likely you're probably going to do very, very well from these top 10 cryptos, we would say personally. Obviously, there's absolutely no way to know. We could easily go low for Bitcoin, in our opinion, as well. If we do see ourselves rolling over with any, major aplomb past that 18k level, we're probably going to head down to around that 12 or 13k level that people have been saying about. But we think realistically that, we've seen Bitcoin chopping sideways for a good while now. We've got a bunch of, technical stuff that we'll look at in a moment, which would suggest, in our opinion, that, Bitcoin's probably going to be heading to the upside fairly soon, and the longer that we do see this overextension to the downside, in our opinion, and this heavy consolidation that we're seeing at the minute, it's getting much more likely that we're going to be going up than down in terms of probabilities, is what we would say. So in terms of the markets, things going sideways, we're just going to look at some news today. Just a few things to look at. This is one of the things that we saw on Twitter, which we thought was really interesting. A lot of places all over the globe now accept Bitcoin. If you look at this image, you can see there are actually tons and tons and tons of places all around the world now that have actually started accepting Bitcoin as a legal tender. Lots and lots of places where I'm from in the UK do accept Bitcoin as a method of payment now, which is really interesting. Obviously, we've got loads and loads of integrations with all kinds of cards, like Nexo cards, for example, Crypto.com. We've also got, PayPal, obviously with their big integrations at the minute, although PayPal have been cast in a pretty dim light recently, and that's all we're going to say on that matter. But for the most part, you can see, adoption is increasing for cryptocurrency. And, when you think of how prices behaved over the past year or so, you would say, things not looking too good in terms of the price action. There was a lot of hype in the markets, and we've obviously seen all of that die down now. Everything kind of chopping sideways, looking pretty boring. But as we were saying, the fundamentals, they do keep increasing. The hash rate for Bitcoin increasing all the time. The adoption rate for cryptocurrencies in general seems to be increasing at a faster and faster pace. And, a lot of people do liken it to the start of the dot-com boom, where basically there was a massive move up, lots and lots of nonsense in the market, everything gets flushed out, and then basically, the internet was a massive, massive inception of technology, wasn't it? That basically saw a huge amount of basically development in the entire world. I mean, the world is so different now because of the internet. And we would say, cryptocurrency potentially could be something along those lines as well. So this is one of the things that we've been seeing I'm from the UK, and if you're from the UK, you will know that things have been absolutely awful recently. It's been a bit of a shit show, to be honest. The government has been making, an absolute a myriad of mistakes, shall we say, in terms of monetary policy. We've seen the value of the pound has been absolutely plummeting. We've seen, mortgage rates have been increasing massively. The cost of living is getting ridiculous in the UK. They've made a lot of changes to how, the energy crisis that we've been seeing has just been exacerbated by the way that they've been handling it as well. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the UK at the minute in terms of fiscal policy. Our government's been changing over, quite a lot recently. And basically the policies that they've been implementing have been causing a lot of, a severe amount of disruption for normal working class, middle class people, we would say. So this is one of the titles that you would say is poignant to that. British pound fiasco boosts Bitcoin's hedge appeal. Basically, after the mini budget that we saw from Liz Truss, filling the financial markets with dread, a section of investors stampeded away from the pound towards the cryptocurrency. We did see a good amount of volume coming into Bitcoin, with the pound, dropping like an absolute rock in the market. In that period of time, we did see a lot of investment heading over to Bitcoin, specifically from the UK as well. And this is, this is going to be a continuing theme, we think, over the next 5 to 10 years. We know very well, everyone's seen the charts by now of fiat currencies. They're slowly losing their value and heading to zero. The pound is worth 0.0014% or something of what it was worth in 1920s, 1930s, and it's just been continuing to plummet over time. And these hedges against that, inflation and also that lack of buying power. As time goes on, people are looking for, to diversify, especially with the current conditions of the world. They're looking for some safe haven assets. They're looking for something maybe they can get some upside on over the long term. Just a good store of value. And we all know that, Bitcoin has always been considered by many crypto influencers especially, and lots of people in the cryptocurrency space, to be a really good store of value. So this is obviously, we think, definitely going to be a narrative which continues to play out. As these fiat currencies continue to lose their value, we do think that we are just going to continue to see more and more adoption of Bitcoin, as a safe haven asset, essentially, fixed supply. And the key, honestly, having a fixed supply and increasing demand over time. We all know that supply and demand, as the demand increases, the supply is fixed. Less and less Bitcoin to go around. Sooner or later, we are going to see, Bitcoin trending to the upside, in our opinion, if this narrative is going to truly play out, especially with fiat currencies the way they're going at the minute. We've seen inflation all around the world absolutely soaring. Currencies losing their value left, right, and center. The Turkish lira is just going down and down and down right now. So this is a big narrative that we think is definitely going to play out. Again, here, Bitcoin eyes a safe haven. Bitcoin eyes a safe haven status as gold correlation returns. So this is, in keeping with this same principle here. Obviously, having a high correlation to gold, according to Bank of America. Obviously, you've got to take these articles with a pinch of salt. But we do think, Bitcoin recently, it's not actually been that volatile, has it? It's been going sideways. To be fair to, a lot of fiat currencies have been going down and down and down, but Bitcoin has been holding its value pretty well. Despite everything that's going on in the world over the past few months, Bitcoin has, for the most part, just been going sideways, hasn't it? And a lot of people have been getting into it. A lot of banks have been, opening up their investors to being able to get into cryptocurrency. And, you know, when banks are saying stuff like this, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But we do think it's a bit of a leading indicator for potentially where things could go in the future. We do think that, as we just said, Bitcoin is definitely with a fixed supply. It's a very safe haven asset. And with a similar correlation to gold. I mean, everyone knows that when there's mad inflation and uncertainty, people always buy into gold. They believe it's a very safe haven asset for the long term. And we do think that this is definitely something that is going to, as we said, play out probably over the next 5 to 10 years. We do think Bitcoin is probably going to continue to see adoption as this kind of store of value, maybe even, you know, a world reserve currency in the future. So more news here. We've basically been seeing how, you know, another piece of news about how Ethereum has finally moved to its proof of stake. Essentially, there's this narrative about Bitcoin, isn't there, that it's not very it's not very environmentally friendly, I should say, sorry. But the reality is, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin as a monetary system or a store of value or a value system, which is essentially what monetary systems are, in comparison to banks, in comparison to these big institutions, it uses a minuscule amount of energy in comparison. But there is this, you know, stigma against it. And we've seen, you know, Ethereum with its move into its proof of stake model now. It has essentially chopped down those energy costs of all the mining, essentially GPU rigs, all the kinds of rigs, etc., by 99% basically, because it's gone to proof of stake. Obviously, there are definitely problems with centralization with this, as people are well, you know, documenting at this point. But it is obviously documented that mining Bitcoin, for example, here consumed 75 terawatt hours of electricity, more than all of Austria and Portugal in 2020. So it is a network that uses a lot of energy. But we have to keep in mind that we shouldn't really be comparing Bitcoin to countries. We should be comparing Bitcoin to banks and their energy consumption. And it is a massive amount of energy that banks actually do consume to remain, you know, functioning essentially. So important to keep these figures with a pinch of salt. Interesting though that there is this narrative that still exists. We've obviously got a few more articles here. This is a good one. More adoption stories. Main stock exchange in Israel to launch cryptocurrency trading. Obviously, just more and more, as we said before, adoption stories coming all around the world. Good to see that basically more and more ways for people to get into cryptocurrency. We want that mainstream adoption. Obviously, when you see things like this, we do get elements of regulation as well. Hopefully, you know, getting more eyes onto cryptocurrency, getting more involvement with it and bringing it forward into the mainstream is something that we all want, obviously. Things like this are really, really good to see. As we were saying before, another article here about the, you know, potential dangers of centralization with Ethereum, especially with its proof of stake upgrade. As we can see here, Ethereum's transition to proof of stake was celebrated as a key upgrade. However, a month after the move, centralization concerns are now mounting high. This is something that we were talking about, and you can see actually the distributions here of staked ETH. This Lido Finance have got 31% of the staked ETH currently, which is, you know, that is a huge amount of voting power there for the network. Obviously, when things are decentralized and fair, you would say, you know, realistically, anyone can hold any amount of Ethereum and they will have their, you know, it's basically democratic, you would say, to an extent. But obviously, when these big institutions with huge buying power come in and they have a big margin, essentially, they, you know, there is potential for monopolizing networks here, which are supposed to be decentralized, which could be, you know, an issue in the future, especially when cryptocurrency is supposed to be that, you know, to an extent, that liberating force against big institutions, etc. More adoption stories here. As we were talking about before, MasterCard will help banks offer cryptocurrency trading. We've obviously heard about this a lot, but we do think, you know, banks are obviously going to cash in on the cryptocurrency train at some point. They have been fighting it in a large part. We know HSBC, etc., etc. That is actually my personal bank. Have actually, you know, they've tried to block me in many instances from interacting with cryptocurrency platforms via the bank because it is direct competition to them, according to them. But eventually they are going to have to get on board because this is a train that is not going to stop. So you can see MasterCard, they're going to help banks with cryptocurrency trading. The payment giant will act as a bridge between Paxos, a crypto trading platform already used by PayPal, and banks. So you can see all these cross integrations are coming into play. This network and this lattice of different, institutions getting into the cryptocurrency space will only continue to get stronger and stronger, in my opinion. And basically a little bit of a roundup here. Twitter developing a crypto wallet, which is really, really interesting. Elon Musk potentially getting involved with that there. Fidelity Investment says Bitcoin is an insurance agent against financial crisis, which is, again, that narrative that we have been talking about here. Just a few more different points of articles here. Trading app Robinhood adds Aave and Tezos cryptocurrencies, so just more integrations basically with, these mainstream financial institutions. And obviously, as we were saying before, the crypto market flat on Monday. So just one more thing here before we take a quick look at the chart just to see what's going on. We can see here, Cardano having native stablecoins within the end of the year, apparently, according to Mr. Whale here, who is a fairly credible source as far as I can tell. Which is obviously, that is more big news. Cardano is definitely a network that we are bullish on for the long term. Obviously, it's going to be we would say a part of the ecosystem, the main crypto ecosystem going forward over the next 5 to 10 years, provided that they can actually, roll out meaningful systems that people can use and get involved with. We do think DeFi is probably going to come to Cardano in a big, big way, probably secondary only to Ethereum, depending on how Ethereum performs over the next few years. But this is obviously very interesting to see. So just one more thing here. We are going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart just to see what's been going on. Obviously, we have been doing charting previously. We've removed all of our basically all of our analysis here, pretty much apart from these lines here, which I'll remove. We'll just take a very, very cursory and quick look at what's been going on with Bitcoin. What we're seeing in the charts, obviously this is the daily time frame. You can see we've had our bull market here and we have been coming into a bit of a bear market, haven't we? You can see just coming down, losing layers of basically supporting these areas here. You can see here we come down a little bit of a rising wedge kind of formation like this. We come down to another level of support, we lose it, we retest it as resistance, we roll again. Obviously this whole time a lot of fear and uncertainty in the world. The war with Russia obviously as well, not a good catalyst whatsoever. We did see obviously that beginning somewhere around here. What was it, February, March 2022 here. We had a bit of a rise in the markets. We continue to roll. We come down and we're down here now, aren't we? But you can see, I mean, realistically, we are looking as though we may be coming to a bit of a consolidation period. We have been going sideways for quite some time here. You could say realistically, we're probably in a bit of a range, maybe looking something like this. If I just highlight this in a bit of a area like this, you can see realistically, if we look at this, false breakout, we come back inside the range. You could say we're in a bit of a range like this, weren't we? Something like this, like that. And we have been under this big, long resistance like this, which we are, we've formed a very nice resistance looking like this in our opinion as well. A few interesting trend lines that we have noted. There's one like this, for example, which is a very interesting trend line. In my opinion, you can see resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. We come up again. We actually do break out of this resistance, which is really interesting. We've come back and retested it at support. We have tried to, come up here, but we've got, stuck under probably this. I would say it is looking like it probably is exactly this level here, which we came up and touched this previous swing low as a resistance here. We've obviously come back inside the range and had a rollover again to come down and retest lows. But look how we've come down. We've retested that previous resistance here, here, here. We've come down, retested support, support, support. We've actually had a nice bounce back up to the range high here as well. Very interesting. We come down to the range low, support, 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 support. And for now, we are currently continuing to hold this this range low as support here. As we said before, we could easily roll from here, and we're not denying that this definitely is possible. And if we do roll from here, I mean, realistically, we've got a very thin layer of support at 16k at this level here. And then also, if you look back here, this level at around 12 to 13k, we'd say realistically, it's looking something like this. It's probably going to be your next level that you'll come down to if we do see that roll. But just some things to note here. As we saw these highs here where we were getting these massive bearish divergences, really, you can see on our RSI here, the price continuing to come up. You can see we're starting to lose momentum and roll over. And then we've got, our big bearish divergences like this. You can see here we come up, we form that, head and shoulders formation, roll over, come down, consolidate. You can see here bullish divergence. We get that break to the upside like this. We come up, we make a new slightly higher high again. But you can see between here and here, you know, this is a big bearish divergence, isn't it? You can see, you know, the strength of the price action coming back up, making a slightly higher high, but we're losing momentum. We roll over, we roll over, we roll over. But the same is true when people are in max fear mode at the bottom as well. You can see down here very clearly that we have actually come down. We've made, you know, some pretty decent, we would say, at the very least, some potential divergences here. Obviously, the RSI, we came down, we have a massive spike down in the RSI. I mean, this is a very impulsive move to the downside, isn't it? You can see here we've had one here as well where we were just absolutely capitulating and rolling over. This is a extremely bearish price action here. Massive red candles for Bitcoin. But if we come and zoom in a bit, you can see we've actually come down. We've got this level here. We've come down. We've tried to push lower, haven't we? We've got some actual lower lows here. These wicks, obviously, you've got to take them into account. But where we've actually closed the candle on the daily time frame here, we've come down. We've tried to make that lower low. But you can see here we've got these massive potential divergences forming here, with the price action coming down slightly lower to try and push lower. But we've got, you know, the strength of this price action is weakening, isn't it? And we are currently back at, you know, you would say delta neutral in terms of RSI here, really over the past few weeks, just chopping sideways in between around this 20k and this 18k range here. Obviously 20k as well, a massive psychological number, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But for now, you know, we would say Bitcoin's still continuing to go sideways, and that would be our analysis for today. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to check out the links in the description below to support the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.